Long before the roads of men crossed the forests and rivers of West Africa, there stood a powerful kingdom called Umoka. It was a kingdom blessed with fertile lands, mighty warriors, and endless wealth. At the center of the kingdom sat King Nana, a ruler feared by enemies and respected by allies. For 30 years, no army had defeated him. For 30 years, peace had flourished. And for 30 years, one prophecy haunted him. An old blind seer had spoken it on the third day. His first son was born. Your greatest enemy will not come from another kingdom. He will rise from your own blood. The king never forgot these words. As the years passed, he had three sons: Obina, the eldest, brave and honorable; Chike, the second, intelligent and ambitious; Kelechi, the youngest, kind-hearted and beloved by the people. They grew together, hunted together, and fought together. To outsiders, they were inseparable. But inside, Chike's heart darkened, slowly grew. He desired power and hated that Obina would inherit the throne. The more the kingdom praised Obina, the more bitter he became. Then war came. Raiders from the neighboring kingdom of Okuru attached border. Villages, home burned, farmers were slaughtered, children disappeared. King Nana declared war. Obina led the first army. Chike commanded the second. Kelechi remained behind to protect the capital. The war lasted 6 months. Rivers ran red. The cries of widows filled the air. Still, neither side won. Then came betrayal. One night, assassins entered Obina's tent. By dawn, the crowned prince was dead. But the assassins were not from Okuru. They were sent by Chike. For years he had planned it, and now the throne was closer than ever. The war continued, and Chike became a hero. He won battle after battle. His reputation grew. The people cheered him. His father praised him. But guilt slowly buried itself inside him. When Okuru was finally defeated, there was no celebration, only grief. Obina was gone. Thousands were dead, and nothing felt complete. 1 year later, King Nana died unexpectedly. Chike became king at first. Everything seemed perfect. The throne was his. The prophecy appeared defeated, but fate was only beginning. Kelechi uncovered the truth. A dying assassin confessed everything. Chike had murdered Obina. He confronted his brother. Only the two stood in the royal chamber as rain thundered outside. "You killed him," Kelechi said. Chike froze. Then finally, "Yes." "Why?" "Because I was tired of standing in his shadow." That night, Kelechi vanished. 5 years passed. Then war returned. A massive coalition marched towards Umoka. Cities burned. Villages fell. Panic spread. King Chike assembled his warriors. But something had changed. The people no longer trusted him. The enemy led revealed himself, a masked warlord, a brilliant strategist, a fearless fighter. When the mask came off, it was Kelechi. The kingdom fell silent. Brother against brother. One ruled through betrayal. The other marched through vengeance. The war lasted 3 years. Famine spread. Entire villages vanished. The kingdom became a graveyard. Neither brother would stop. Each victory brought more death. Each defeat demanded revenge. Until one day, Kelechi stood over a battlefield of corpses. A dying boy whispered, "I don't know anymore." Those words broke something inside him. Across the battlefield, Chike suffered the same torment. Every night he saw Obina. Every night he heard screams. The throne became a prison, but pride kept the war alive. Finally, both armies met at the sacred hills. 50,000 warriors gathered. The battle began at dawn. Drums thundered. Spears clashed. The earth trembled. By evening, the battlefield looked like hell. Then the brothers met. sword against sword, blood against blood. Hours passed, but we are wounded. Neither yielded. Finally, Chike fell to his knees. Tears ran down his face. I ruined everything. I killed my brother. I destroyed our father. I destroyed his kingdom. Silence fell over the battlefield. Kelechi stood frozen. Everything they had done led here. Slowly, he lowered his sword. Revenge ended, but nothing was healed. Chike surrendered. The war ended. But peace came too late. The kingdom spent decades recovering. Wounds never fully healed. Chike died years later in exile. Only regret remained. And the elder said, revenge destroys both the victim and one who seeks it. 20 years passed. Peace slowly returned. Kelechi grew old. He sat beneath on an iroko tree, watching the kingdom rebuild. Children laughed again. Markets reopened, but the red drum remained sealed in the shrine of our ancestors. Wrapped in black cloth, forgotten, but not gone. Among the children was Chidubem, son of Obinna. He grew into a respected man, but refused kingship. Thrones destroyed many bloodlines, he said. Peace was fragile, and history was not finished. From the northern kingdom of Nkaru, a warlord rose, King Zubiri. He wanted conquest, and he wanted the red drum. A stranger arrived in Umoka, a spy disguised as a merchant. His name was Dogo. He manipulated a shrine keeper named Ebuka. Debt, fear, greed, until one night the red drum was stolen. In Nkaru, Zubiri struck it. Boom! War awakened again. Kelechi heard it. He knew instantly. The curse had returned. A new generation would now suffer for the sins of the old. The kingdom gathered again, but without a king, only councils, only fragile unity. One far away, war drums echoed once again. The red drum had not ended war. It had only passed it forward, from fathers to sons, from kings to children, from one generation of blood to the next. And so the kingdom of Umoka stood once again on the edge of destruction, not because of destiny, but because of choices never forgiven. The red drum was never just a weapon. It was never just a relic. It was a mirror. It revealed what already lived inside men: jealousy, ambition, betrayal, revenge, and every time it sounded, it did not create war. It only awakened it, because kingdoms do not fall by drums, they fall by hearts that refuse to let go of blood. The first beat of the drum did not sound like war, it sounded like memory. Walking up across the northern winds of Umoka, that deep vibration rolled through villages like a snake, a sickness returning after years of silence. People stopped in their tracks, birds rose from trees, dogs barked and refused to settle, and in the old valley beneath the Iroko tree, Kelechi felt it in his bones. Not fear, but surprise, recognition. He closed his eyes. It has learned nothing, he whispered. Beside him stood Chudubem, now a man grown into leadership. Though he had never taken a crown, never demanded authority, people followed him because they trusted his silence more than other men's speeches. What does it mean? Chidubin asked. Kelechi opened his eyes slowly. It means someone has touched the drum again. In the prayers after the stolen red drum vanished into Nkaro, Umoka has survived by execution, not peace. Councils argue endlessly. Villages guided themselves. Border tightened like wounds. Refuses to close. There was no king to command unity, only memory hold the kingdom together, and memory was fragile. Now that the drum had sounded again, the fragility began to crack. People came quickly. Northern farm burned, border squats, strange warriors seen moving at night like shadows without footsteps, and wars, entire village abandoning their homes before any attack even reached them. They are not fighting yet, one messenger said, trembling. They are waiting, like something is calling them. Kelechi already knew what they meant. The red drum was not just being used. Far beyond the mountains, in the war camp of Nkaro, King Zubiri stood before the drum. It had changed since the day it was stolen. The black cloth was gone. The carving were darker now, almost as if the wood had absorbed something living. Beside him stood Dogo, the man who had stolen it. But Dogo no longer looked like a merchant. Power had changed him. Fear had sharpened him. Ambition had hollowed him. We should stop, Dogo said quietly. The villages are already surrendered without a fight. This is enough. Zubiri laughed. You still don't understand it. He struck it the drum again. Boom! A sound that did not travel through air, but through people. In distant villages, warriors suddenly picked up weapons they had sworn never to touch again. Men who had retired from war found themselves sharpened blades without knowing why. Mothers began packing children before danger arrived, not because they saw her, but because they felt it coming. Zubiri smiled. This is not a weapon, he said. It is obedience. Dogo stepped back slowly. For the first time, fear turned into regret because he realized something terrible. He had not stolen power, he had released it. Back in Umoka, Chidubem gathered the council. We must strike first. One elder argued. We must negotiate, said another. We must flee, whispered a third. But Kelechi raised his hand. Silence! No, no, he said. This is not a war. You run towards or away from. He turned towards the fire. This is a war. You end at its source. Chituben looked at him. You mean the drum? Kelechi nodded. And the man who thinks he controls it. That night, Kelechi returned to the shrine of the ancestors. The shrine had not been used in years. Dust covered its carving. The air inside felt heavy, like breath held too long. And there he saw it. A crack had formed in the floor, beneath where the drum was rested. Not physical destruction, something deeper, as if reality itself had been strained. Kelechi touched it, and in that moment he saw everything. Not vision of the future, not memories of the past, but the truth behind the drum. It had never been magical, not in the way people believed. It did not create war, it collected it. Every betrayal, every revenge, every act of jealousy and rage throughout generations, it stored them. And when struck, it released them back into the world, not as memory, but as action. Kelechi stepped back, shaking. So it never stopped, he whispered. It only waited. At dawn, Kelechi and Chidubem felt left Umuoka with a small group of warriors, not an army, not a conquest, a mission, a correction. The journey, not 2 days. Every village they passed showed the same pattern. People restless, eyes focused, men arguing over nothing, children crying for reasons they could not explain. The drum was not just calling warriors, it was rewriting emotions, turning peace into instability, turning memory into aggression, and always getting louder. They reached the border of Nkaro and sunset. Smoke already rose in the distance, not from battle, from confusion. Villages were fighting themselves, neighbors turning on neighbors, not because of hatred, but because nothing inside them had been disturbed. The drum is spreading faster, Chidubem said. Kelechi nodded. It is no longer in one place. That realization hit harder than any blade. The war was no longer an event, it was becoming a condition of humanity. They found King Zubiri on a hill overlooking his army. Below him, thousands stood ready, but not fully aware of why. Their eyes were distant, their breathing uneven, as if they were dreaming while awake. The red drums stood before Zubiri, and for the first time it looked unstable, as if even in it was overwhelmed by what it had awakened. "You came late," Zubiri said when he saw Kelechi. "No," Kelechi replied. We came at the only time that matters," Zubiri said. "The drumstick, one strike, and they will march across every kingdom. No more councils, no more debate, only unity." Kelechi shook his head. "That is not unity," Zubiri frowned. "It is control, and control built on buried pain always becomes destruction." For a moment, silence stretched between them. Then Zubiri struck the drum again. Boom! But this time, nothing obeyed. The sound cracked through the air and shattered into something unstable. The warriors below staggered. Some dropped to their knees. Others screamed, not in rage, but in confusion, because now they were remembering things that were not theirs. Wars they had never fought, deaths they had never witnessed, struggles that did not belong to them. The drum was collapsing under the weight of too much history. Kelechi stepped forward. "There is only one way to end this." Zubri laughed weakly. "You think killing me changes anything? The drum has already been struck." Kelechi shook his head. "It was never about killing you." He looked at the drum. "It is about silence." For the first time, fear entered Zubiri's eyes. "No," but Chidube moved first, not with violence, with understanding. He took the drumstick from Zubiri's hand and broke it. The sound of the wood snapped was small, insignificant, almost disappointing, and then silence for the first time in generations. Through silence, the effect was not immediate. People still trembled, still remembered, still felt the echo of everything the drum had released. But slowly it began to fade, like a storm losing strength. Warriors lowered their weapons. Father found children again. Villages stopped burning themselves from within. Even Zubiri collapsed to his knees, whispering, "What have I done?" Kelechi stood over the broken drum. "It was never yours to command," he said. "It was never anyone's." Week later, the red drum was returned to Omoka, not as a weapon, not as a release, but as a warning. It was sealed deeper than before, buried beneath stones, beneath silence, beneath time. And Kelechi made a final decree: "No kingdom shall ever strike it again." Chidubem asked him one night, "Do you think it is truly over?" Kelechi looked at the sky. "No," he said softly, "but it is learned something it never knew before." "What is it?" Kelechi's voice was quiet. "That silence is stronger than sound." Years later, travelers passing through Umoka would still hear stories of the red drum. Some says it still sleeps beneath the earth. Some says it cannot be destroyed. Some says it waits. But the elders always end the story the same way. The drum did not curse the kingdom. It only revealed what the kingdom refused to face. And when men finally chooses silence over vengeance, the curse lost its voice. If this story kept you hooked from beginning to end, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Mystery Uncovered for more unforgettable tales of betrayal, revenge, mystery, and powerful life. Lesson: your support helps us bring more amazing story to life.